So I'm joined today by Simon from DXC. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you, Greg.
And Jane from KPMG.
Hello, nice to see you.
Great radio voice, Jane. You're perfect for this job. And you're both straight off the stage. You were presenting at the PIEF National Summit this year in beautiful Adelaide. Now, I'm going to read your topic because it's quite a long one. So your topic was the impact of artificial intelligence on roles within the personal injury industry, exploring developments in AI to support both the client and the employee to improve service standards and deliver better outcomes. So my first question, in a nutshell, because it is a very short podcast, what is the impact? And is it a good thing? Let's start with you, Jane.
So fundamentally, it is a great impact. And at the moment, we are seeing AI not just accelerate the way the Internet of Things and electric cars did, which was probably at a 30-degree angle. We're seeing a 90-degree acceleration. So now's the time to get under the hood and understand what impact AI can have. We need to think about it as bringing value. It needs to bring value to us as the people looking after people who are injured and also to that customer. And where it brings value, you can think about efficiency in time. You can think about understanding and person-centred approach. You can think about bringing support tools such as voice recognition, such as mental health apps that are going to enhance service delivery. That's the impact that it's going to bring. We're going to look after our people faster and more holistically while we enable AI.
And it's interesting you say to person-centred approach. I'd be interested in your views too on this one, Simon, because the term artificial intelligence is quite cold and it's quite technological, and yet you're talking about centering on the needs of the individual. So, Simon, to me it sounds like there's a dissonance between the two. And how do you reconcile something that is very technological with a need that is very human?
Yeah. So I think, and I agree wholeheartedly with Jane, we're in the care industry. We're caring for people with injury, who are vulnerable, at risk. So life's uncertain for them. And I said this in the session earlier when we talk about person-centred care. There's a lot of talk about person-centred care in this sector, but as I said, and sometimes I get into trouble for saying this stuff, but a lot of our people across Australia do a lot of task and process management because for historical reasons around compliance and capability, coming in, do your task, tick your task off, it's hard to be person-centred when you're a task manager. So if we can use AI to take tasks, doesn't mean the tasks don't get done, they just get done by machines in the back end, like request medical report, organise IME, whatever it is, then we get the ability to be person-centred because our people are not doing that. They are focusing on the challenges of Greg Pineo with his work injury. That's the opportunity.
And those challenges can be quite significant.
Yeah, that's
speaking from personal experience. So from what I'm hearing, we're not talking about somebody who is going through a process of recovery post-injury, calling up and hearing some robot saying, would you like to leave now, or would you like to book a taxi for later on in some very automated voice, are we?
No, not at all. What we can actually get from particularly generative AI is we can bring a whole collated source of information together that then through deep machine learning understand what are the priorities. Now for you, Greg, it might be get that taxi here now because I'm late for my independent medical examination. But for others it may be I'm not sure that I'm really coping. I've been seeing the doctor and the psychologist for 6 weeks but nothing's changed. In fact, it's become more complex. So when we hear that, the machine learning behind can actually raise a profile and say this person is highly distressed, they're more at risk. And then we know the most important thing then as a claims professional to implement is more support. to that person at this particular time rather than getting them off to another medical examination. So it helps us, it enables us to do the right thing at the right time for people. And that can take a long time to do manually, because what we're relying on with the human factor with analysis is that thinking time, that critical thinking time, that analytical time, sometimes that peer review before we make a decision. With deep machine learning, it's taking all the data from multiple claims and it's saying we can see that this one has a greater risk and this kind of action is recommended. It's not making the decision about that action. That is still held by the art of the claims professional, but it is recommending what it may know as a better or suitable action point because it's learned from all the other claims that it's seen similar circumstances to.
So I'm sure you've seen the movies. I've seen the movies. Robots taking over the world, people losing control. So that, there are a lot. I think there is an element of fear and uncertainty attached to artificial intelligence and augmented reality and all those other technological advancements that we're seeing, as you said, rapidly evolving, right? So should we be afraid? And should the regulators be concerned?
I think you've also got to have a level of risk management around this stuff. You've got to have controls around how far this goes. But I think it's a first principles situation that, again, going back to we are in the people business, supporting people who are injured. And, if you are injured and have those other risk factors, talking to a robot's not really what you want to be doing. You might want to talk to a robot to get your taxi organised, absolutely, but talking to a person who's got the time and energy to lean in and build trust and a relationship with you, that's the benefit. That's where we want to be with AI, rather than a robot looking after your care. I just don't think, I could be wrong, but I just don't think that's the future we're looking to. Obviously, we need to make sure there's boundaries around how far we do and don't go in this space. But I think the previous speakers about what if, I think that's a good question to ask around what if we could do this?
Yeah. And look, the regulators are putting high on their agenda ethics frameworks around AI, because they do see that the ethics, the underpinning privacy and safety of people's data is critical. And it's our responsibility as organisations as we face into AI to be consistent and accurate in the data that we're holding and make sure that we are putting privacy regulation around it. And that is absolutely critical at this time, or it will fail within the organisation, because we'll go into so many barriers and challenges because we haven't done the work in the first place to set the right foundations around privacy and ethics. But misinformation is one of the biggest risks to AI. And that's something we need to take accountability for, particularly as we start to recognise the data that we want to collect and use as a means to get this impact and bring this value into the experience for our people on claim.
So the theme for today is the future of work. What's the future of work looking like for you, Jane?
Well, it will definitely be augmented by AI. And it will be augmented so that AI allows me to actually bring to the table what are my gifts, what are my strengths. So we will be able to have a future of work where people are actually bringing their strengths to the table. And that is still the human factor. That is still the critical thinking, the creativity, although we have seen AI do some pretty good artwork.
Yes.
And it's hard to tell the difference, but we still don't have a lot of the emotional content. AI, we know, can't replicate humour. They're not as funny as you, Greg.
No. Such a challenge.
I know. So the very refined human element is not yet replaceable. And so allowing humans to bring their strengths and actually work alongside AI is the key.
And I love the way you framed that. I really do. And Simon, the future of work?
I might answer it slightly different. I think the future of work, if we embrace AI, is fundamentally different to the way we, in this sector, we do our work. The challenge for this sector is urgency. We've seen throughout the conference, how AI it's progressed outside of our sector, doing all sorts of amazing things, and we're well behind. And we have an opportunity to embrace that and be urgent about it, and get the future of work closer to us than further away from us, if you know what I mean. And that's the challenge for the sector.
And it does take a long time to turn a big ship.
Yep.
Unfortunately, and the rate of change in technology is, as you said, rapid. Rapid. So, yeah, it's a real challenge for the industry, isn't it? Right, I've got this big ship that's been a solid thing for the last 3 or 4 decades. How do we actually adapt to the seas of change?
But there's lots we can learn from other sectors, and internationally, Australia's a little bit behind.
Right.
So we really should partner and collaborate to look at what can we learn from what's going on in other sectors, particularly across, insurance, to see what advancements they've made. Where do they have their pitfalls? What can we learn from that as we go on our journey? Yeah.
Well, thank you both for joining Studio PIEF today.